All throughout history, there have been new inventions and ideas. However, some are less talked about. One of these is the telescope.
There are a variety of models and designs of the telescope. It doesn't matter whether they are old, new, big, or small. They all have the same purpose.
To really make sense of the telescope's history, we need to start from the beginning. The telescope makes distant objects appear closer, so let's zoom in on its distant past.
The story of the telescope begins in the Netherlands, where it was first invented. It is not clear who the original inventor was, but in 1608, Hans Lippershey, a Dutch spectacle maker, introduced a lens contraption that made distant objects appear closer, marking the first public appearance of the telescope. Lippershey had introduced the telescope in the Netherlands, but news spread fast to Italy, where 44-year-old Galileo Galilei, a mathematician and philosopher, decided he had his own ideas and visions for the telescope. He made his own, refining the original invention and used it for his studies in a widely unknown and unexplored field: space.
Although the telescope made then was very unrefined and crude in comparison to those today, they still allowed for a better view of the stars, planets, and sun. Galileo used this to his advantage, discovering the moon's craters, Jupiter's moons, Saturn's rings, Venus's phases, and sunspots. Thousands of previously unseen stars were now visible with the help of the telescope. These discoveries mark the beginning of a turning point in history, the time after which was filled with a deeper understanding and investigation of space. With the telescope and its continued advancement, we have gained a deeper understanding of space and our place in it.
People's views on space before the telescope were very different from the view we have today. Before the invention of the telescope, there were many misconceptions about space and Earth's place in it. One of the biggest of these would be that Earth was the center of the universe. It was common belief that the Sun and other planets rotated around the Earth, and many things that are common knowledge today had yet to be discovered. Before the telescope, there were only a few people that believed in the idea that the Sun was the center of the universe. Galileo was one of the few people that believed in and worked to prove this theory.
Galileo Galilei was born on February 15, 1564, in Pisa, Italy. He was most famous for his enhancing of the first model of the telescope and being the first one to use it for astronomy. By using it for that purpose, he discovered the phases of Venus, Jupiter's moons, the stars of the Milky Way, and the moon's craters. Before and after the telescope was made, a constant opposer and oppressor of new ideas concerning space was the Church. The new ideas directly contradicted the history, beliefs, and concepts written in the Bible. This was a problem for religious leaders since this challenged their teachings, so they worked to silence the voices such as Galileo's that opposed the Church's ideas.
After Galileo's early use, presentation, and improvement of the telescope, Johannes Kepler was the second to improve upon the refracting telescope, which consisted of glass lenses mounted in a tube. Instead of using a concave and convex as all other telescopes at the time were made, he used two convex lenses, which made the image appear upside down. In the late 1680s, Sir Isaac Newton studied Kepler's work and discovered that the lenses caused differing refractions when different colors of light passed through. Based on his discoveries, he built a telescope using mirrors, which would reflect light instead of the light passing through lenses that would cause refraction.
From here we jump to the 18th century, where we see the King of England and Sir William Herschel, an astronomer and composer. Sir William persuaded the King of England to construct a reflector with a 39-foot focal length and 120-centimeter mirror, which he used to lay the groundwork for the concept of galaxies outside of the Milky Way.
The telescope continues to evolve throughout the 18th and 19th centuries, using both reflectors and refractors. In 1845, Ireland Lord Rosay constructed a reflecting telescope, one that uses mirrors, that for 75 years remained the world's largest telescope with an impressive 50-foot long focal length. Another advancement was made by William Lassell, who made a refractor that was not as large but had a greater refracting power, allowing Lassell to find and catalog 600 nebulae, Triton, Neptune's largest moon, 'Hyperion, Saturn's eighth moon, and much more.
People continued making bigger and bigger telescopes, but a bigger telescope was no longer improving our view of space. Our atmosphere provided an obstacle that distorted and limited how well our telescopes worked. From this, a dream was born, an observatory in space, beyond the atmosphere that was causing problems. This concept was brought about by Lyman Spitzer in the 1940s. This would prove to be a good idea, because outside of Earth's atmosphere, telescopes are able to detect light from stars, planets, and other objects in space without the light rays being distorted or absorbed.
This advancement of the telescope began its journey in the 1970s, where this dream became a reality. Together, the European Space Agency, ESA, and NASA began to work together on a telescope that would later become famous for its groundbreaking images, the Hubble Space Telescope. Named after Edwin Hubble, this telescope was deployed on April 25, 1990. But when the images captured by the telescope came back, they had a lack of precise focus and a faint halo. Scientists found a solution to the slight error in the telescope's main mirror and received unprecedented images. The telescope is still in use today and continues to give scientists images of objects in space, such as the planets in our solar system and far-off galaxies. They are used by scientists to better understand space.
The main job of the telescope is to magnify objects that are far away, especially planets, stars, and other astronomical-related factors. Telescopes can be used in big corporations like NASA or on a small level like community colleges. One woman named Catherine Whiting from Colorado Mesa University's physics department testifies to the impact of the telescope on space observations.
Important because we need data. We need to be able to take images of these stars to confirm that there's planets there.
Even just for local research, the telescope makes a huge difference.
But how is this information useful? How do we use this, and why is space so important? To answer these questions, space gives us more information about life and how it correlates to the wide expanse of space around us. Using telescopes up in space, we can track hurricanes and other extreme weather systems, possibly saving many lives. With the discovery of space, much more came after, like finding new planets and even going to the moon. All of this is possible with the help of the telescope.
The turning point that was the invention of the telescope greatly changed our view on space, opening our eyes to all the possibilities that come with the knowledge gained. The telescope is one of the biggest instruments in the science of studying space, giving us advanced images of closer planets and far-off galaxies. The telescope is one of the most important pieces of technology and one of the oldest. Its invention brought about a turning point in the field of astronomy through its help advancing the study of the field. From big corporations to your backyard, the telescope is there to better our view of the universe.